اللهم جبرائيل وميكائيل وإسرافيل فادر السماوات والأرض عالم الغيب والشهادة أنت تحكم بين عبادك فيما كانوا فيه يختلفون اهدنا لمن تختلف من الحق بإذنه إنك تهدي من تشاء إلا صراط المستقيم. The title itself is regarding from darkness to light. Now, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentions in the Quran, وَمَا خَلَقَتُ الْجِنَّ وَالْإِنسَ إِلَّا لِيَعْبُدُونَ. I did not create jinn and mankind except that they worship me. In terms of worship and its relationship with darkness is that one who implements worship in terms of when he is in a state of darkness and strengthens it, eventually by being patient, he will receive the nur of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala through the struggle that he has gone through. Now everybody goes through a stage of darkness, and one of the ways we are tested is through our iman. And in regards to shaitan and how shaitan implements his deceitful ways in luring a person into darkness and distance himself from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, is that he uses all angles of deceitful plotting against mankind. And one of the ways we combat shaitan is by strengthening our iman, going back to the Quran and Sunnah and implementing what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wants from us. Now, when a person is in a state of darkness, he is confused, misguided, he is distanced from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And the method is to, first of all, strengthen your dhikr, reading the Quran, praying your obligatory prayers, doing extra nawafil prayers, because nawafil prayers are one of the benefits and routes towards goodness, because the first thing you'll be asked about by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is your salah. And if your salah is if your salah is in a shortcoming, then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala looks at your nawafil prayer, your voluntary prayers. So in regards to the state of darkness that a person is in, how does one step away from the darkness into light? Is by implementing what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wants from you. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives us guidance in terms of the verses that He uses in the Quran that talks about darkness and light, which is Alif Lam Ra, Kitabu أنزلنا إليك لتخرج الناس من الظلمات إلى النور بإذن ربهم إلى صراط العزيز الحميد. This is a book which we have revealed to you, O Muhammad, that you might bring mankind out of darkness into the light by the permission of your Lord, to the path of exalted in might and praiseworthy. Now the verse itself, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala talks about darkness and light. Now Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has created the heavens and earth in its perfect form, creating darkness and light. وَإِنَّ فِي خَلْقِ السَّمَاوَاتِ وَالْأَرْضِ إِنَّ فِي خَلْقِ السَّمَاوَاتِ وَالْأَرْضِ in the creation of the heavens and earth and the alternation of the night and the day. The night and the day itself is created by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And therefore, when we look at, for example, darkness itself, we're distinguishing between the darkness that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has created in terms of His creation and the darkness that a person is in terms of the evil that he is in terms of the darkness that we're referring to, it's the state that he's in. Now, the state can change and alter into light by the person strengthening his iman, strengthening the closeness towards Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And by another verse in the Quran that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala uses is هو الذي يصلي عليكم وملائكته لتخرجوهم من الظلمات إلى النور وكان بمؤمنين رحيما. It is who confers blessings upon you, and his angels ask him to do so that he may bring you out of darkness into light, and ever is he to the believers and merciful. So when we look at, for example, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala talking about darkness into light, these are guidance from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, just as the book, the Quran itself, is from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to guide mankind to the straight path. Ihdina as-sirat al-mustaqim. Now, darkness itself is not what you want to be in terms of the state that you're in terms of the darkness that you are in. You want to be in a stage at where you're receiving the nur of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala by implementing the Quran, by praying your prayers, by doing that which is good, adjoining the good and forbidding the evil. Now, the state of darkness itself is, like I said, is a state where a person is confused, misguided, distance from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and shaitan loves darkness. And therefore, you must seek Allah's nur by coming closer to Him and worshipping Him and remembering Him. أقول قول هذا واستغفر الله وأتوب إليه.